everybody. We're here for a sunshine chat today. This one I'm going to read you a parable from my Heart to Heart Parables book. Years ago, my friend Arthur Morel, who suffered from schizophrenia, he asked me one day when I picked him up to take him down the block. He wanted to show me something beautiful. We went down the block where a lot of homes were already being torn down, and I thought, what would be beautiful on this street? And there was a lawn filled with dandelions. And Arthur says to me, "Sister, isn't it beautiful? It's filled with God's light." I never forgot that drive, and so I was inspired to write this parable called The Little Dandelion Treasured Forever. There was once a gigantic, large green field nestled in a forest of trees of various sizes and shapes. The forest was the home for many an animal. Small creatures of the Lord, squirrels, raccoons, insects, birds, butterflies, and even some fish, and periodically a roaming cat or dog or two. It was truly a place of God's creative design, where even the leaves, the berries, the flowers, and the small emerging buds shared the giftedness of their fragrance that made this forest a special place and a beautiful place to live. Many visitors came, children, men and women from everywhere, to rest, play, and perhaps to just find moments of solitude, peace, and hope. It was here in the forest that the field of green, so green was the grass that one would think it was an emerald blanket of creation, so deep, so soft, and so quietly exquisite. Many a visitor romped on the field of green, playing sports, having picnics, or just strolling hand in hand. It was on this field that the little dandelion lived, a bright, bright yellow, a symbol of God's sunlight, ever present in the midst of such grandeur. For sure, as Gerard Manley Hopkins, a Jesuit poet, wrote, "The world is charged with the grandeur of God." So too would be this little dandelion. On stormy days, the forest was usually very, very quiet, letting the rain water its very life of streams, roots, soil, and heart. The tall pines would lift up their boughs and receive this water of life in wonderful gratitude. The animals would find refuge in a cave, nook, or tree, watching the rain bringing new life to its surrounding home. The little dandelion would feel the waters beating down on its fragile stalk and lean on the green grass for its protection. After the storm or rain shower, the dandelion would appear taller and brighter. It had its special place in this magnificent garden of life. All seemed to live in harmony, respected each other's dignity, uniqueness, and connectedness. It was what one might call a world of love. The little dandelion just always thought and believed, "This is where I shall dwell forever." But life was to bring changes. Part of the forest had its trees removed and the soil eroded and left a vacancy that no one could fill. The streams were to dry up and some of the fish were removed and saved, while others were left to eke out their life and die. Some of the animals chatted among themselves of the different life being built in their forests. It was called industry. Was this new technology not taking into consideration that a garden and a forest are places that our world needs to protect, nurture, and share with great respect and care? No one asked the inhabitants of this tranquil forest what they thought and knew of the beauty and meaning of this holy and sacred place of creation. And so bit by bit, day by day, the noise was not of picnics, children playing games, or people strolling, but rather the noise was of bulldozers and concrete buildings and shop after shop called a mall of stores. When all was finished, in place of the trees that had graced the forest with the grandeur of God, now stood tall skyscraper buildings called corporations. The emerald green lawn was also replaced by cement for a multi-tiered parking lot for many cars that smelled of gasoline. The fragrance of the industry, for sure. All was gone. Or was it? For there in the midst of this new transformation from forest to metropolitan shopping mall and business industry was a small patch of the green emerald field left as a reminder, a memorial to the beauty of nature. And in that small patch of green, the little dandelion still bloomed. Of course, no one knew of her days and nights of sadness, perplexing questions, upsetments, and fear. Yet, she had survived. She was saved and she was still living. But the little dandelion was alone. She did not feel the warmth of the cold concrete and the busy people who passed by in such a hurry. They never noticed the lonely little dandelion. They were so intent on a new project to make more money. Some even ate their lunch while running from one meeting to another and threw their empty sandwich bag on the ground, which one day, gathered by the wind, hit the little dandelion. She felt the bruises on her fragile and sensitive stem. Why, she thought, that never happened in my home when it was the forest of harmony, care and love for one another. The dandelion pondered her very existence. Despite her shining petals, she felt deep darkness. What would become of this dandelion? She did not know. In fact, she worried a lot about her future and also of her new surroundings. Day in and day out, no one seemed to notice the little dandelion or the small patch of the emerald green situated in the midst of the new city called life. Until one day, an elderly couple stopped for a visit. The little dandelion heard with her heart, of course, the couple chatting. It seemed many, many years ago, in fact well over 40, that this couple had come to the forest for a stroll and remembered the beautiful emerald green grass where they had talked of their future plans. It was here in this forest of light that the man and woman in decades past had carved their initials in a tree, surrounded by a carved heart called love. It was in the forest that they shared with each other their dreams, and most of all, it was on the emerald green field of grass that they looked up at the clear blue sky and promised each other love forever. Now, decades later, as husband and wife, they returned to the forest changed. Well, honey, the elderly man said, this place might not be our special forest anymore, but it is the very ground we travel to find and believe in God's plan for us. The woman agreed, though she did voice her wish, a wish for the forest of the past. As she said this, the man said, look, a patch of green, a sign of hope. It's not lost. The woman knelt down and felt the softness of the patch of green grass, and with a tear, she saw the memories of the past and watered their very existence. The past, she realized, was the gift that gave hope for newness of life. Just before they left, the couple looked back at the little patch of green, and it was then that the man noticed the little dandelion standing so elegantly and resiliently amidst the concrete world built all around it. He went over and said, honey, wait, I have a gift of love for you. And so he handed her the precious little dandelion. Take this dandelion, he said, this beautiful, bright, it was never called a weed, as a reminder of the flower of my love for you. The woman took the dandelion and gave her husband a hug. She held on to that dandelion all day, so tightly that the dandelion felt a bit choked up with emotion and gasping for air at times, needing the soil of earth to live. Where am I going, the dandelion wondered. What is to become of me? Do I have any meaning left in life? That night, the couple, when they got home, the dandelion was to listen to their reminiscing about the beautiful forest they once knew and deeply appreciated, loved and respected in their hearts and spirit. Somehow the dandelion now knew the forest would live on in their memory. It was then that the dandelion realized that memories are good, holy and helpful ways of treasuring life, even when parts of the memories are changed, transplanted, or taken away. Now the dandelion did not even have the concrete buildings or companions, and gone forever was her emerald blanket of grass that had been her trusted security, where she had peacefully rested her heart and spirit. But late that evening, the woman went into her cozy kitchen to put the lights out. Just before she did, she came over to little Dandelion that she had put into a tall glass of water. She touched the dandelion's drooping spirits that had wilted during the day's journey in her hand. She took the dandelion out of the glass of water, and her own tears fell upon the petal. She whispered to the little flower, never call the weed, words of gratitude and love. We need to love all of creation for being a reminder of her love's early years. Oh, she said, how blessed I am to have found you. Now I know I have a part of my forest of love to save forever in my special book of memories. I shall press you on one of the pages. At first this frightened the dandelion. Was she now to be crushed in spirit? As the woman said this, she opened up a beautiful book filled with many memories, cards, announcements of birds, engagements, weddings. Here is the page for you, my little dear dandelion. It is a page called Treasure. I treasure you. You enabled me to realize today that no matter what changes come into our lives, there will always be a glow of God's sunlight. I saw and felt that today. There you were in the midst of the city, bustling all around you, a shining light of sunshine, hope, and a renewal of spirit. Now you can live on in my heart as a reminder to treasure each moment, every relationship, and most of all, our love for one another and our world of creation. Slowly and gently, the woman placed the little dandelion on the precious page of her treasured memory book. She put saran wrap over the dandelion so its fragile stem and wilted petals would not be crushed, but protected and gently held as memories of joy and love. As she closed the book, the little dandelion did not feel disappointed anymore, displaced or fearful. The little dandelion had a flicker of her yellow petal still intact. She felt deep thankfulness and joy at knowing it was not being crushed, but treasured. Treasure life. Its sunlight has a purpose. It served a purpose, and it found wonderful meaning to remind others of God's ever-abiding presence in all of life is truly an extra holy treasure. So an extra thought to this treasure and this parable, that each day after being placed in the book of treasures, the woman would open up the book to her special page where the little dandelion with its flickering little light rested. The woman would gently touch the flower, never call the weed, and whisper, you are a reminder of love to me. I treasure you forever. What a wonderful gift we have to share with each other. The treasure of our love. No matter how fragile, displaced, or weary our spirits can get, the gift of God's love can lift us up on wings of prayer and joy-filled hope and enable us to look beyond materialism, consumerism of our world to the very heart of our existence is to share a simple light of love, to be a petal of a bright compassion and a splendid roof of hope to hold us close to life's meaning, to love one another with harmony and peace and justice for all. What a treasure to see in a tiny little dandelion the goodness of God and the reflection of Jesus' love. Live that sunshine in your heart every day. Thank you for listening today.